At such time, all interested parties will be given an opportunity to be heard. And please, when you hear your name, just come on up to the podium and tell us your name and address. Application number 511-25, Sean Lamons and Farron Phillips Lamons. Permission to leave pool patio and pool equipment having side yard of 4.5 feet instead of required 6 feet each. Residence A District, west side of Casella Avenue, 743.9 feet north of Orinoco Drive, through lot to Robert Moses Causeway, Bay Shore.
How you doing? Sean Lamons,
Your address, please?
1032 Casella Avenue, Bay Shore, New York.
Thank you. And you're here on the pool patio and the pool equipment?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Any questions from the board at this time?
No question.
Planning, any comments?
No comment.
Is there anyone else who would like to be heard in this matter? I will let you know that we did receive from a neighbor that they would request that you put some plantings to silence the noise, to lessen the noise, since their bedrooms are located near that side of your house.
Okay,
So you can figure out which neighbor.
no problem.
I'll take a motion then, please.
I'll make a motion to grant the application.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, application's granted.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Application number 512-25, Eric and Ariana Bonilla. Permission to leave pool patio having rear yard of 4.6 feet instead of required 6 feet, and shed having rear yard of 1 foot instead of required 2 feet. Residence AA District, 278 Cluster, east side of North Cardinal Court, 81.34 feet north of Prospect Place, Bay Shore.
Eric Bonilla, 9 Cardinal Court North, Bay Shore.
And you're here on the pool patio and the shed?
Yes.
Okay, any questions from the board? Planning, any comments?
No comment.
Is there anyone else who would like to be heard in this matter? Take a motion, please.
Make a motion to grant the application.
All in favor? Aye. Application is granted, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too.
Application number 513-25, James Pellegrini Jr. and Danielle Ripertella. Permission to leave driveway on-side property line not having required setback of 4 feet. Residence AA District, east side of Redwood Drive, 438.97 feet east of Wood Hollow Road, Great River.
Thomas Callaghan, 11 Redwood Drive, Great River.
Are you representing?
Yes,
Okay. Just on the side yard for the driveway?
yes, correct.
Any questions from the board?
No question.
Planning, any comments?
No comment.
Is there anyone else who would like to be heard in this matter? I'll take a motion, please.
Make a motion to grant the application.
All in favor? Aye. Application is granted.
Thank you, have a good night.
You too.
Application number 514-25, Daniel and Christina Jorgensen. Permission to leave driveway on-side property line not having required setback of 4 feet. Residence B District, west side of Oak Neck Road, 421.79 feet north of Orinoco Drive, West Islip.
Daniel Jorgensen, 1076 Oak Neck Road, Bay Shore, New York.
Good evening, you're here on the driveway side yard?
Yes.
Okay, any questions from the board? Planning, any comments?
No comment.
Is there anyone else who would like to be heard in this matter? Take a motion, please.
Make a motion to grant the application.
All in favor? Aye. Application is granted.
Thank you.
Application number 515-25, Elmer Ulysses Escobar Castillo. Permission to leave patio on-side property line not having required setback of 4 feet, shed having side yard of 0.7 feet instead of required 2 feet, and driveway having side yard of 2.96 feet instead of required 4 feet. Residence B District, east side of Krager Street, 70 feet north of Russell Avenue, Holbrook.
Diana Laspisa with Morano Expediting Services, P.O. Box 39, Bethpage, New York, 11714. Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm here before you requesting permission to maintain a paver patio holding a side yard setback of 4, maintain shed having a .7-foot side yard setback instead of the required 2, and maintain driveway expansion. The owner purchased this parcel in December of '23, at which time all of the existing improvements were already in place. He has not altered the driveway, patio, or shed in any way since acquiring the property. Unfortunately, the home suffered a fire on February 22nd of this year, and during the process of applying for the necessary building permits to repair the fire damage, it was brought to our attention that these improvements had been made without permits. The legalization of the existing structures is therefore required in order to obtain the certificate of occupancy for the fire repair, which brings us before you today. The shed in question is used solely for storage of typical household
I think we got it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. I didn't know we didn't start right away, so I wasn't sure.
I'm just trying to let her run up, please.
You're doing a good job.
All right.
Planning, any comments?
No comment.
Is there anyone else that would like to be heard in this matter? All right, I'll take a motion, please.
Make a motion to approve the application.
All in favor? Aye. Application is granted.
Thank you. Have a good night.
On the next application, number 516-25, we have a request to withdraw the application.
All right, I'll make a motion that we accept the withdrawal of their application.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Application's been withdrawn.
Application number 517-25, Jamie Avalar, permission to establish accessory apartment pursuant to Islip Town Code, Section 68-602. Residence A District, south side of Poe Lane, 258.51 feet east of Peterson Street, Brentwood. It's gotta be behind me, isn't it?
Jamie Avalar, 16 Poe Lane, Brentwood, New York.
And you're here to legalize the apartment?
Yes, sir.
Establish the apartment? Any questions? this
No.
time? Planning, any comments?
No comment.
No? Anybody else like to be heard in this matter? All right, I'll take a motion, please.
Motion to grant the application for a period of 3 years. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application's granted, period of 3 years.
Application number 518-25, Dennis and Diane Da Silva, permission to erect one-story addition, 29.3 by 31.5 irregular, leaving front yard of 41 feet instead of required 50 feet, side yard of 17 feet instead of required 25 feet, and total side yards of 42.5 feet instead of required 60 feet, and to use dwelling for two-family, family use only pursuant to Islip Town Code, Section 68-419.1, Residence AAA District, north side of Fawn Lane, 444.67 feet west of Deer Run, East Islip.
Good evening, Christopher Ang, 83 East Main Street, Patchogue, New York. We're asking for permission to build a one-story addition that will relax the front yard setback and the side yard setbacks on this property, and also ask for two-family, family use only on the dwelling as well.
Okay, any questions at this time from the board? Questions? Planning, any comments?
Yes, this call of the meeting, I believe, can be modified, actually. This is a cluster subdivision. It's supposed to be regulated as AA, not AAA, based on the planning board decision as part of the original major subdivision, which means they don't need a front yard variance at all, and their side yard should be 17 instead of required 18.
Okay.
So it got better.
So I'll make a motion that we strike the portion of the application regarding leaving front yard of 41 feet instead of required 50 feet. And also make a motion that we modify the side yard of 17 feet instead of required 18 feet. Total side yards,
Eliminate. Strike total side yards, right?
strike the
Yeah.
total side yards, and then we strike the reference to total side yards of 42.5 feet instead of required 60 feet. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Is there anyone else who'd like to be heard in this matter? Now I'll take a motion on the amended application.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make a motion to grant the application amended and with respect to the family use only for a period of 3 years. Second.
All in
Thank
favor?
you.
Aye.
Have a good night.
Application is granted as amended.
Okay. That was Bill and Chris, right? Application number 519-25, William Sitchi and Miguel Portocarrero. Permission to leave one-story elevated addition, 21.7 by 50.5 irregular, having floor area ratio of 26% instead of permitted 25%. Residence B District, southwest corner of Wicks Road and Walter Street, Brentwood.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Jenna Hernandez from Dynamic Expediting Services.
Can I interrupt you 1 second? This is a very, very, very doable application. You got it?
Yes.
Okay.
What about the next thing?
Okay.
Any questions from the board at this time?
No question.
Planning, any comments?
No comment.
Is there anyone else who'd like to be heard in this matter? I'm sorry?
She
You gave her
did give her
appearance.
appearance, yes.
You got her
Yeah.
appearance?
Yep.
Yes.
You gave it.
Can I get a motion, please?
Motion to grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application is granted.
Application number 520-25, Wendy Navarro, permission to establish accessory apartment pursuant to Islip Town Code, Section 68-602, having gross floor area of 283 square feet instead of required 300 square feet, and to leave patios on side property line not having a required setback of 4 feet each. Residence A District, north side of Connecticut Avenue, 382.77 feet west of Candlewood Road, Bay Shore.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Jenna Hernandez from Dynamic Expediting Services. with offices at 231 Islip Avenue. We are here today to establish an accessory apartment. The dwelling is owner-occupied, and the engineering department has completed their driveway review. The property owner will have to make some repairs to the roadway and submit a hold harmless in order to receive final sign-off from engineering. Lastly, the apartment is listed on the call of the meeting as 283 square feet. However, the actual apartment size is 480 square feet as listed on the compliance permit application.
Planning, any comments?
I would corroborate that. It does not need a variance for being too small. It's
All right.
of proper size.
So I will make a motion that we remove the reference having gross floor area of 283 square feet instead of required 300 square feet from the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So that's removed. Any questions on the balance of the application?
No question.
I'll take a motion, please.
Motion to grant that portion of the application for the accessory apartment for a period of 3 years and to grant the balance of the application. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application is granted.
And on the next application, 521-25, Ermin Mavrock. Jenna, is that application, you're going to request a adjournment of
Yes,
this?
an adjournment, please.
Okay, just need to see if anybody was
Is
present.
anyone else here who'd like to be heard in that matter? No, all right, then we'll take a motion to grant the adjournment. Grant the
Motion to
adjournment.
grant the adjournment. Second.
All in favor? Open adjournment has been granted.
Thank you.
Okay.
Why are you just limiting it to tonight? Come on.
Application number 522-25, Raul Escobar, permission to erect awning with privacy panels having side yard of 4 feet instead of required 14 feet. Residence A District, southeast corner of Newham Avenue and Ailing Court, Brentwood.
Good evening. He's Raul Escobar, and I'm Suleima Hernandez,
Give us an address, please.
117 Newham Avenue in Brentwood, New York.
Okay. And you're just here on the awning?
Yes.
Any questions from the board?
Is it a stationary awning or does it
Yes,
roll up?
stationary.
Do we have, what type of precedent, where is it from? What type of precedent do we have, Nick, on 4 feet instead of 14?
We don't have any, and I don't know if I'm correct. I might just be realizing this for the first time. I think this is a rear yard setback, not a side yard. Looking at it now. Or at least, I think it should be.
It's a corner lot, right?
Yes, a corner lot.
It's a corner lot, but I think they front on Newham, right? Or no? Yeah, they front on Newham Avenue, so this would be their rear yard, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Would be the rear yard, right?
Yeah.
No, this isn't. Sorry, I'll bring it up.
What's the closest we have? I mean, if we grant 4 instead of 14, it's tossing the code. I know it's an awning, but.
I don't really have much of anything. Yeah. It is an awning, although with the privacy panels, it's not enclosed on every side, but it does, the side facing the neighbors kind of has a wall. It's unusual in that sense.
It's a solid awning, it's not.
What are the privacy panels, are they like tarp hanging down, or are they like?
I think we might have pictures of it somewhere, but,
I don't think we have pictures of, at least I don't see them.
oh, then I don't know exactly. It's,
Got to propose, right? Is that a rendering? It's not-
I believe it's like I don't think it's just fabric or anything like that. I think it's like an actual side panel.
Like,
Yeah.
now, what's with the panels? Do they
It's
roll
almost
up,
like,
or-
it's almost like a fence thing, like, right there.
Mm.
Yeah, is it set, is it adjustable? I mean, can you make it less than 4 feet?
We could, a little bit, I mean, because we don't have like, it doesn't have like a patio, it's just like, for us to be there, like, because his daughter passed away, so we have like pictures there, we have to put like a tarp, so that's why we want the panels on the back.
But the problem is, the code requires a 14-foot setback. If you were at 13 or 12, we could say yes.
Oh, the house is set back, right?
This is, do the math. I don't know, it's about 75.
Because the house was built very close to the.
I know, but you gotta
So this is
build.
side.
Have you considered any alternate locations for it, more compliant?
The thing is that that's where like the sliding door is, on that side, so it's more convenient for everything, like, for us.
Right. But they could exit through the door and then maybe just walk to the other side of the house.
But then when it rains, or if anything, then, you know, you will have to go to the other side of the property.
But we can't treat the property with the 14-foot setback when you don't have, we can't treat it like the 4-foot setback. It's not. You want us to bend the rules, not bend them, but grant you something that is so beyond the pale. What's the point of having a code if next week somebody says, I want to have 3 feet and 2 feet? Where we left.
Doesn't matter.
And we have to look at tests and
Okay.
Hi, good evening. My name is Patricia Henry, and I'm living at 118 Ealing Court in Brentwood, New York. So it's right beside their backyard. Yes, yes. So I honestly wasn't aware when I got the notice what exactly they were going to do, so I had to like do a little investigation to find out what was honest or what, because they would sometimes ask us as neighbors if they have to put up something, and they would use a side of our yard to make like a removable ornament where they would use it. And I don't have a problem with that. Where it starts becoming a problem is that if you're going to put up something that is permanent, because that home had a fire twice already where neighbors lose their home. And I think it was last year, we were inside of our home, and my husband saw smoke coming. I go to bed pretty early because I got injured, and most time I really don't sleep, especially in the night. And he's like, something going on. So my concern is I am so close. My home is so close to the back of their yard. And one of the main things that I'm nervous of, after having 2 fires and then a third partial one, it left me very, very nervous. And not only that, one of the main things is one night I was inside and they were building, I think it was something, it looked permanent, and I went to the fence and I asked them, like, you guys, did you get a permission for this? And they said, yes. I'm like, no, because I've been there for over 20 years. I know that when you get a permission, just like how they send me a note, I would get a notice. And eventually they took it down. But when I asked, they were like, they wanted to have church service. That's what the son told us. And I'm like, no, guys, you guys cannot do that. I'm not going to live somewhere where I'm going to be constantly with all this noise and, you know, a crowd of people, because then that will jeopardize again for a fire when you have extra amount of people into our home, you know, doing God knows what. So I don't have a problem with them. It's just that I'm a bit concerned when it comes on to certain things. That's my, you know, if it's something that is not going to be that close up to my window, because we are very close. And if it's also something where I'm not going to be having that constant noise, like a church, you're going to have a lot of noise and stuff. I don't know if you can have a church in your backyard, I don't know. But, you know, yeah. Okay, thanks.
What she was referred that, that she asked that if we were gonna have, something, my nephew told her that we were gonna be praying because, like I said, she just passed away, so we were in that moment. And that's why we had, which you could see there was some wood holding the tarp, because it was raining. It was, in February. Yeah, it was cold, so we have no other place to put the tarp close to the house. And this is what it was. Okay.
I have nothing further.
Thank you.
So we'll make a decision and put it in the mail.
Okay.
62 days.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
I'll read it in. Application number 523-25, Jose Victor Rubio Moran. Permission to establish accessory apartment pursuant to Islip Town Code Section 68-602 on lot having area of 7,200 square feet instead of required 7,500 square feet. To leave roofed over deck having rear yard of 22.3 feet instead of required 25 feet, resulting in floor area ratio of 32.3% instead of permitted 25%. Driveway having side yard of 3.1 feet instead of required 4 feet, and 3.5-foot-high columns in driveway site distance triangle exceeding permitted height of 3 feet. Residence B District, east side of Princess Avenue, 180 feet north of York Place, Bay Shore.
Yes. My name is Jose Victor Rubio Moran. My address is 49 Princess Avenue, Bayshore, New York.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I was getting my bearings. As far as the FAR is concerned, it appears that it was triggered above and beyond what the board would normally grant, being the 30%, because of the roof over deck in the back, which was added after the fact. Now, there was a road opening here, or rather, there was a road widening here that took some of their lot. At the time, when they built this, it was at 25%. Afterwards, it was maybe at like 28. Then they added something additional after the fact, and that's why they kind of have this issue. It's not really well supported. I could say that, pretty good confidence. One person did get above a 30%. It had a bunch of stipulations on it, never to be enclosed for the porch, etc. And that's pretty much it. Beyond that, yeah, the lot area itself, that, again, that's caused by the road widening, so that's not really an issue for me in that sense. And then the column in the driveway side triangle, I don't really have much to say on that. It's just a column in the driveway side triangle. I don't know. I'm never particularly okay with them. That's...
Yes. ¿Qué es eso? ¿Ah? ¿Ah? ¿Para acá? ¿Ah? ¿Ah? Sí, dile. Yes. Ajá. Vente, pa. Thank you.
Dash 25, Jennifer Stackle. Permission to elevate dwelling leaving front yard of 16.83 feet instead of required 25 feet, side yard of 9.83 feet instead of required 10 feet, and to elevate decking leaving side yard of 6.42 feet instead of required 10 feet. Residence BAA District, east side of Sexton Walk, 90.85 feet north of Fire Island Lighthouse, Robin's Rest.
Good evening, Cedric Legray, architect, representing Ms. Stokel. I'm unsure why we're here tonight, because we already have a granted variance on this project. It appears that Ms. Stokel received a incorrect zoning denial and then proceeded to file for a new variance, which is, I guess, tonight's topic.
Are you saying that we erred?
No.
No, not the ZBA, never, no judge.
Well, it is slightly closer to the front yard than what the board approved?
The as-built survey is showing it at 7 feet, and the variance was for 17.1, so we're 1 inch, 0.2, off from, which in construction is pretty decent.
Well, yeah, so as you know, the public notice calls it as 16.83.
This was on the file drawings, but the as-built survey is closer to what the variance was asking for and was granted. It's up to you if you would like to grant this application, or we just continue. We have a pending building permit, DEC application on this project.
Well, at this point, you would have to ask for another extension of time, right? Like we did in 2023?
Well, we filed before the extension ran out, so we're in plan review, I guess, at this point.
Oh, okay, that's why I wrote you about 3
Right.
weeks ago and asked you.
Right.
Okay.
What do we do if we grant it?
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I would think just grant it, yeah.
Planning, any comments on this?
What was the
I
original?
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add on this.
The original was,
17?
yeah,
All of them are
Right.
modified a little bit.
It's
You missed a little bit.
just a little bit, although we can modify the siding to accommodate the 1 inch.
It's like less than a quarter of an inch.
Yes.
granted the 17.1.
De minimis, to say the least.
I like that word.
De minimis.
De minimis.
2 words.
Anyone else would like to be heard in this application? Okay, I should take a motion to accept it.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to make a motion that we grant the application.
All right.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Aye. Case is granted.
Next time, that'd be perfect.
Application number 525-25, Brandon Weisberg, permission to erect second-story addition leaving front yard of 30.9 feet instead of required 40 feet, and side yard of 12.7 feet instead of required 14 feet. One-story addition leaving side yard of 12.2 feet instead of required 14 feet. Two-story addition leaving front yard of 37 feet instead of required 40 feet, and side yard of 12.2 feet instead of required 14 feet. Portico leaving front yard of 24.9 feet instead of required 40 feet, all having total side yards of 24.9 feet instead of required 28 feet, and floor area ratio of 30.63% instead of permitted 25%. To leave shed having 5.4 feet behind the front line of the dwelling instead of required 20 feet, driveway having side yard of 1.4 feet instead of required 4 feet, and to use dwelling for two-family, family use only pursuant to Islip Code Section 68-419.1, Residence A District, east side of Tulip Avenue, 100 feet south of Brook Street, Oakdale.
Good evening, members of the board. I'm Robert Conway from Bello Architects, 6334 Northern Boulevard, East Norwich, New York. So I'm here to present the application. Essentially, we are asking for a small addition to the footprint of the home and to add a second floor to house this secondary living unit for Olivia's parents to live upstairs. The front yard setbacks are existing, as well as the north side setback. We are looking to match those with our addition. Our south side is the 12.2 setback, which we are asking for reduction, which is pretty characteristic of the neighborhood. The shed and the driveway are existing and have been existing for a number of years, so we're asking to maintain their location. The front portico is being reconstructed in a similar size as the existing, just in a slightly modified location. And then our floor area is over by, it's 30.63, where we're 25. There's a couple houses in the neighborhood that have been granted over 30. Yes, the one I referenced was on Brooks. It was 212 Brook Street. It was granted in 2004, and I believe it was 30.5%. Yeah. The other reference I had was for a single, two-family residence in the neighborhood, and there was a couple other grants for close to 30%. Under 30. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 30.6, that 0.6 equates to about 50 square feet with the size of the lot, so it's a small ask over that 30 that's typically allowed.
A couple, so that was not one of them. Besides the front yard actually just being existing, it's actually quite well supported in the neighborhood as well, so if that number did jump out to anybody, pretty much everyone in this area, you can kind of see them all in a line there, all in the 20s where 40 is required, so that's perfectly fine. The FAR, I got one more that he didn't get, which was granted at 32%. Although the one that he had, I actually think it's part of the old code that counted things that no longer count, so kind of give one, take one. But there's one granted in 2014 for 32%. That's the only one I really found. I mean, besides the shed maybe could be moved, I don't really have an opinion on the rest of the application. But as far as the front yard setbacks go, that's fine. Side yards looks fine. FER is maybe a bit higher than it should be.
Can they move the shed somewhere instead of 5.4
So the 5.4 was taken off of the existing front yard line, discounting the portico. So, you know, in normal situations, if the portico was permitted and stuff, we would be closer to 10 foot off that front line.
Huh.
So, you know, we don't feel like it's a huge lift. It has to maintain where it's been.
10 feet I would be okay with, although usually we would count the portico in terms of right in the denial, so. I don't know if that did happen here, to be fair to you. It's measured from the front line of the dwelling, so what he's saying is that, I think what he's trying to say is that he doesn't think it was being measured from the portico.
Correct.
Which, if the portico comes into play, it would be measured from there, as opposed to,
How do we, the old portico, how do we delineate, so we don't like to bring from 5.4?
I do not have a ruler.
I can, just for you. I'm gonna turn my mic off now.
Does anyone else like to be heard in this matter?
Thank you.
Application number 526-25, Philip and Sarah Ragusa. Permission to erect one-story addition, 17.2 by 20.2, leaving side yard of 9.8 feet instead of required 10 feet, and rear yard of 16.3 feet instead of required 25 feet. To install deck, leaving side yard of 5.8 feet and rear yard of 4 feet instead of required 15 feet each, and outdoor shower, leaving rear yard of 1.6 feet instead of required 10 feet, all having floor area ratio of 40.4% instead of permitted 30%. Residence BAA District, east side of Birch Walk, 40 feet south of Central Walk, Fair Harbor.
Good evening, Chairman and members of the board. I'm Michael Dunn, the architect for the Raguses at 256 Orinoco Drive, Brightwaters, New York, 11718. So, I was in touch with planning. We did have a conversation about the rear yard setbacks and the FAR. He made it sound like we were close, so I wanted to...
I believe I also told you that I would email you about FAR and then got very distracted and didn't do so, so apologies about that.
I knew we would settle it here, so I wasn't too worried.
So, I don't know, should I just start or?
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah, this area in Fair Harbor, there's a couple things to note here. One, there's a lot of really short setbacks in terms of rear yard especially, and part of the reason for that is they have these sort of 8-foot utility right-of-ways in between all of them. Now, I will say what they're asking for here is still a little bit more than what anybody else has really been getting, maybe like a foot or two. But I think it would be the reasonable way to look at this, if you have an 8-foot right-of-way shared by the two neighbors in their rear yard, you could probably add 4 feet to the rear yard setback effectively in this case. You know, they would split it, if the right-of-way wasn't there, they would split that evenly, 4 feet to each of them. So it's not as bad as it looks. It's a little close compared to other people still, but it's not that bad. As far as the FIR goes, it's a bit of a mixed bag, but actually, I think after looking at it more, Mr. Dunn, there's actually quite a bit. There's 2 granted at 40.8, there's 1 granted at 42. So it's on the higher end for this area, but it's not beyond the pale.
You know, when we say it's only foot or two, we're only talking about a 6-foot side yard, a foot matter.
I was specifically talking about the rear yard, to be clear about how they got that. The side yard, they want to try to keep it in line with the existing one. It's a 40-foot wide lot like a lot of the other ones are here. It is close. You're not wrong about that.
And Fair Harbor's getting really, pushing the envelope every way.
We certainly are. It's,
Can you make this, well, I'm not asking you, I think, I'm suggesting you make it a little smaller, because we just keep pushing the boundaries of Fair Harbor, and it's gonna look like, I don't know, one.
I know, there is existing shed back there, so that is getting lifted up, and we would like to leave that in place, so that's when we put the shower right next to it. So for the rear, can we make it a 5-foot setback for the shower and the deck? 4 and 1.5 feet. We can make that shower smaller to 5-foot setback. Yeah, bring them both back to 5. And that's very typical over there.
The setbacks are usually more in like 6 feet. It's not a huge difference, to be honest. Again, I don't disagree. Every foot matters. Most of the setbacks are pretty compromised in this area, though, yeah.
Just 5 feet, that's when we come to, that's when we come to, I see in my mind's eye, I remember 6-foot rear yard setback is a little more common. I don't see why we should push it on this.
I would be okay with 6, and that would bring the FAR down as well, because that deck is included in the FAR.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, President, and members of the board. We are yes, Nancy Gloa. I'm here with my brother, Stephen Nelson, and we and other members of our family own the immediately adjacent property at 79 Birch Walk in Fair Harbor. I drove down from Boston for this hearing, and I did submit a letter late this afternoon, which the officer just told me was received before 6:30, but I'm not sure you have a copy of it there. So if you could give me the indulgence, I would like to read the contents of the letter into the record. That's the rear abutter. She owns the property to... Okay, I'll try to summarize it. We've been there since 1950. My grandfather bought the house. This is the third and fourth generations that own it. None of the other properties in this area have infill structure the way the Ragusas are proposing. Everybody in the immediate neighborhood, including all of the houses up and down Birch Walk and most of the ones on the immediate walks, have decks or yards outside of their structures. Although our structure would not meet with zoning today by a couple hundred feet, we also have 2 decks and yard area, and that's, as I'm sure you know, I believe, not the standard for a variance. It's whether this would create undue hardship, whether this would be out of keeping with the character of the neighborhood. And one of the other factors that's raised is whether the applicants may have self-created the harm. These people bought this house just a couple of years ago. Nothing is different about it since they bought it. They bought a small house. We understand that they have children and dogs that they want space for, but respectfully, that's not a problem. Yeah. No, this is, ours may not be 15, but it's certainly more than 10, and that's including the fact that we have an outdoor shower and laundry shed. So if you... 15 to 20. Excuse me.
Yeah. My name's Stephen Nelson, and I'm a co-owner of 79 Birch Walk in Fair Harbor. I know, but I was just adding that I think it's about 15 feet from the house to the property line.
Yes, our house is, yeah, the poison ivy's there and all the beach grass, so it's hard to wade through it. But all of the neighbors have either decks or open yard area behind their houses. And if you look at the aerial, you'll see the third house is ours, 79. That's bigger than the next one up. But that one, the entire rear portion of that is deck. And then if you go up further, you can't see it right here, but almost everybody has 10 to 20 foot rear yard setbacks and or decking. I'm saying that not only am I not aware of that, I believe there aren't any, and there certainly are not any that have been granted by variance. Many of them are pre-existing non-conforming. They've been that way for literally decades. And so I realize that they might not be approved today. They wouldn't meet with zoning today, but they certainly have been there. We've all been cohabiting for decades and decades with, 15, 20 feet plus decks, and it's crowded. It's a very condensed area with people right on top of each other, and this would cause a significant detriment both to our quality of life in terms of air, sunlight. They're also raising it 4 feet to comport with FEMA standards. So if you can picture, our side yard setback's about 5 feet. Theirs is 5 or 6 feet, and they want to shorten it a little bit more. We're more concerned with the overall effect of having the structure be no, this is on Birch Walk, which is, we are the third house up towards the ocean from Central. You mean the back of the house? The front or the side? The back, I think it's about 20 feet. And that's open. That doesn't have a deck because my grandfather planted a huge willow tree that's still there, and it's huge.
Yeah.
If I may, the rear yard setback that they're requesting, which Ms. Conklin addressed in her letter that she sent to the board today, is they're proposing 1.6 feet. So that seems preposterous. It's a building, it's a shed and a shower, and that would be leaving only half of the deck next to that, about 6 feet of the deck, and then the entire rest of their deck would be taken up with additional living space in the structure. And so we respectfully request that for all of the enumerated criteria under applicable law, this does not meet those criteria and should be denied in its entirety. Thank you.
Yes, I would. Thank you. Two things for myself as an owner. One is we're very concerned about the size of the house they're building. It's very large. They're increasing the size of their house by almost 50%, and it's going to be a very significant increase in living space and impact our property and the other properties around it. So it's not just the setback from the rear yard that we're concerned about. We're really concerned about the size of the house they're building. The second thing is if you take from the front of when they first have decking to the house, to the deck, to the rear shed, laundry, and shower, it's 68 feet of continuous building material, and it's an 80-foot lot. That is 82% built. So your FAR is one thing, but if you look at the length and add up the numbers on the diagrams they submitted in the application, which we've looked at, it's 68 feet out of 80-foot lot. A 4-foot deck at the front of the house, the front door and the front wall, an entire house that's now being increased by 50% in length, decking, and about a 8-foot shed and shower, which comprises half the rear yard. So if you take from, there's only 12 feet left of yard in the front and the back. This 82% of their yard is full of structures. We are in a 40 by 80 as well, and we have significant front yard and a significant backyard and side yards. I also wanted to ask, Ms. Conklin is the abutting neighbor to the rear, and she submitted a letter that you have. She was unable to come to the hearing because, although we respect that you schedule this for the convenience of people who want to come after work, people who live on Fire Island cannot get home, so there is no ferry after 6 o'clock. So she was unable to come to this hearing when she very much wanted to come to the hearing because it's an impossibility for her to get home at night. So she wanted to express her concern with that and her hope that you would take into consideration her strong views that this is a very significant amount of building on this lot that impacts her, and she feels that the zoning restrictions should be respected, and this is well beyond any kind of permissible zoning. And the only thing I'd want to add, apropos the comment that was made earlier, is Fair Harbor has always been small houses on pretty small lots. So we have a house that was built in the 1920s with an outdoor shower. Everything's being built up, so if you keep making variances and giving exemptions for people to have large houses and more decking and sheds and this and that and the other thing, it's just going to be huge houses on small lots, and it completely changes the character. So, you know, it's an incremental development, as I think you expressed the concern. And we're very concerned about the size of the house, the amount of structure, and the lack of yard space. And it really does impact what we've had in our family for 77 years. My grandfather bought the cottage, my sister and I's grandfather, and, you know, it was nothing like this. So we're really concerned that if this is given, then the next person will come and say, well, they got it, so we want to build a big house. And that is what Ms. Conklin's concerned about as well. She said to me, she called me, you know, and we only had a few days to prepare for this. I can't believe it. If they get this, then everybody's going to be building a big house. So everybody in the neighborhood is very concerned about this, and we ask you to maybe cut back on the size of the house and not just the setbacks from the rear yard. Thank you very much. Thank you.
If I could ask your indulgence for one more. Okay. This would be a precedent. If you look at any of the properties around us in Fair Harbor, nobody has been granted a variance for this kind of impact. It would be a huge impact on the entire community. Thank you very much.
And just to be clear, ma'am, we did not have your letter. We had the letter from Mrs. Conklin. I leave the office at this, we have to be here at 6.
I
So my
understand.
computer has your letter in it, and I'll print it and add it to the file tomorrow.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
I understand from the officer that the office did get it at about 6:20, not in time for your file, so I apologize for that.
You have a copy with you?
I do not.
Okay.
We sent it by email.
Okay, then we'll add it to the file.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to be heard in this matter?
I'm sure Mr. Dunn will want to speak again. Fair Harbor does have a bit of a complicated history. Just to speak to it again, there is grants in the area for similar things, what he's asking for. It's always a bit of a complicated thing when you're using a 500-foot radius. It's not perfect. We use it a lot. It's not perfect. It's probably most, how would I say, ineffective on a place where you have things like 3,200 square foot lots, because you can get like 5 cases and you have like 80 plus lots within a 500-foot radius. So I can understand in terms of what she's saying. Probably there's a very good chance that there's nobody on like her block that actually has this. When you go to a 500-foot radius like we often do, you start pulling these things in, and this is kind of how things have gone in Fair Harbor for a while now. It's a bit of a complicated thing with the way that we normally do things. It's not perfect. So I believe that what she's saying is probably true, although there are other grants within what we would normally consider that do support some of what they're asking for here.
If I could just add, if you look at the aerial there, look at the 2 houses behind our property. Look at all 3 of those, how they abut the rear property line with decks and sheds and apartments in the back. Even the one to the north. Say it again? Yes, behind, yes. Look at those 3 with structures, decks, right up to the rear property line. 1, 2, 3. And the one to the north of us, it goes right to the rear property line as well. So it's not out of character or even of that block or the block behind it. I would be okay with that 6 foot of any new deck or outdoor shower holding in the rear. And as far as the sides, every house on Birch and Cranberry, look how close they are to the sides. It's just building on that 40-foot wide lot. We need the 4-foot ramp. We need a 4-foot walk on one side. It just gets close. Now, we will be under 40% FAR as well. I'm not sure what the, can I get, and we could come up with a number. If we could have, is 2, not, we don't need that long. What would you need, 2 weeks? I'll have some similar setbacks and a new FAR, a reduced FAR. Yes.
Similar setbacks by foiling the office, so, and I'm not going to have a lot of time to respond to those requests. So while you may be able to get it in 2 weeks, I'm not going to be able to give you what you're proposing to give us in 2 weeks. So if you're going to suggest to amend the proposal, that would be fine. But if you're going to ask for 80 lots of precedent, I can't do that in that quick of a turnaround.
I wasn't going to do that.
Okay.
Why don't you start off submitting a different
Mhm. Yes. So is that an adjournment, and I'll reapply, or is it a new case?
Just has to have enough time to review them.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You have the right to resubmit when you get, yeah, I know you should take out the wall.
You can just write back and forth.
It's very important to us.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Number 527-25, Brian and Rosie Rosenthal. Permission to renew accessory apartment pursuant to Islip Town Code, Section 68-616. Residence AA District, west side of Roma Avenue, 798.05 feet south of Connecticut Avenue, Central Islip.
Good evening. I'm Brian Rosenthal, my wife Rosie Rosenthal. We're here tonight for kind consideration on renewal of our accessory apartment.
Okay. Any questions from the board at this time?
No question.
Planning, any comments?
No comment.
Yeah.
So we scheduled this, as you know, for a public hearing renewal and as opposed to a public session renewal because we did receive a letter of concern from an adjacent property owner. So the reason for the public hearing is so that they can come express their concerns to the board and have the board cross-examine them as well, and you. Does anybody else wish to be heard on this application?
No.
Maybe you resolved your issues.
I'm sorry?
Maybe you resolved your issues.
I guess so, but I do have pictures of...
The issues were not really related to the accessory apartment, so this is good.
Yeah.
It was really related more to access to the neighbor's property and your second driveway, which is not related to the accessory apartment.
Oh, ma'am.
Good? Take a motion, please.
I'll make a motion to grant the application for a period of 3 years.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application's granted.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Good evening.
Application number 528-25, Freddie Chica Ponce and Carla Chica. Permission to erect second-story addition, leaving floor area ratio of 27.87%, to leave roofed over porch, 6 by 18, having front yard of 19 feet, and entry platform, 6 by 6.2, having front yard of 13 feet, instead of permitted encroachment setback of 20 feet each. In-ground pool and patio having second front yard of 10 feet instead of required 15 feet each. Equipment having side yard of 3 feet and rear yard of 1 foot instead of required 6 feet each. Patio having side yard of 3 feet instead of required 4 feet. 4-foot fence and corner site distance triangle, and 6-foot fence and driveway site distance triangle exceeding permitted height of 3 feet each. Residence B District, northeast corner of 10th Avenue and First Street, Brentwood.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Gennaro Cozzolino for Freddie and Carla Chica of 108 10th Avenue, Brentwood, also known as Section 202, Block 1, Lot 17, located in the Residence B zone. We are requesting relief from the board to build a 23.7 by 39.8 second floor addition. Proposed addition requires a variance for FAR, requesting to build at 27.87% instead of permitted 25%, a difference of 2.87%. We are also legalizing several structures on the property to leave front roof over with front yard setback of 19 feet instead of permitted encroachment of 20 feet, and deck over 18 inches high with the front yard setback of 13 feet instead of permitted encroachment of 20 feet. To leave semi-in-ground pool and pool pavers with a second front yard setback of 10 feet instead of required 15 feet. To leave pool equipment with a 1 foot setback off the rear and a 3 foot setback off the side yard instead of required 6 feet. To leave concrete patio 3 feet off side yard setback instead of 4 feet. To leave 4 foot high fence in the site triangle instead of required 3 feet high. To leave 6 foot high fence in driveway site triangle instead of 3 feet high. The existing 4 foot vinyl picket fence in the front yard does not affect the sight line. It is actually the bushes that are blocking the view. As you can see from the photos I submitted, it's a picket fence. If the bushes were removed, there would be no obstruction. The 6 foot, the picket fence, it's a corner property. and there's a sidewalk. The 6-foot solid vinyl fence on the side yard, however, needs to be cut back because it does block the view pulling out of the driveway. However, there's also the neighbor's bushes on the opposite side of the fence, as you can see from the photo. They're behind the 6-foot fence, so the obstruction would still be there. Well, we'll cut it back, but the obstruction will still be there. I understand. So we propose to cut it back, cut it down to 4 feet, the 2-section of fencing, to match that front picket fence.
So it would technically still be classified as a site obstruction at 4 feet. It's supposed to be 3 feet or less for site triangles specifically. Though I would agree with you, it's unfortunate, but yeah, the bushes would still technically be obstructing the site, so in practicality, it's not changing too much, but as Mr. Wexler has pointed out, we can't do anything about those bushes at this particular zoning meeting. I don't remember what you were saying about the other one, the corner radius one?
If you go to the corner, there's a sidewalk that goes around.
Yeah, there is. It's still technically in the site triangle. It's measured far enough back that it would still be captured. It's like 16 feet off or 20 feet off, so it would still be in there. Technically, that tree would be too, but it's whatever.
Surveyors don't tell us about trees.
They don't.
No.
But I know fences, the chain link we've been giving a pass. What about picket fences? I think that is a little more obstructive than a chain link fence.
Board has gone either way on it in the past, I believe. Usually, they don't go for it. It's kind of a strange thing. It depends how far really spaced the pickets are. So when you're driving down the road, you're looking at it from an angle, so you can kind of see here. That, at that point, looks like a pretty solid fence. If you're just looking, about 30, 50 feet down. These pickets happen to be pretty close, so I would say yes, it is. If it were more spaced out, it might not be. But you're right, it's chain link fences, we would usually say no. Certain other kinds of fences, no. Picket fences, usually yes. It's very hard to judge.
It seems like to me, correct me if I'm wrong, anything in the site triangle that materially obstructs a motorist's view or a person's view is a danger. We should try to avoid that, no?
It would be my recommendation that we would try to avoid it at the very least, yes. I would not ask the board to make any variances that might put them in an awkward position.
So, Mr. Castellino, how do we avoid creating a continuing dangerous condition?
Well, we would have to move the fence in the corner.
I will say,
We
the
will-
actual proposal is totally fine. The second-story addition, it's totally fine.
I understand. I know. It's usually the other structures that.
They want the second, authority addition.
The front yard setback is a bit of an interesting one. Actually, I could probably get a good view on it here. So, they actually are getting the permitted encroachment setback for the porch area itself, which they're only asking for 1 feet off that, no problem at all. The only part that's a bit closer is this sort of, it's basically like a staircase with a platform to get up to their porch to then enter their house. Yes, it's close. It's also, I don't think, too terribly unreasonable that they're using it for access, so it's not like they're using it to sit out on the porch or anything like that. I could go kind of either way on it. It's close, but I don't think it's very offensive in terms of what it's actually utilized for. Don't even remember what I was thinking. Oh, yeah, as far as the pool goes, this is a mostly in-ground pool, correct? You can't see it over the fence.
Correct, yes.
Yeah, if this was an actual side yard, it wouldn't even be coming up. It comes up because it's a second front yard, but it's a mostly subgrade structure, so I don't think it's actually causing any actual impact. So I don't have an issue with it, because you can't see it.
Anyone else would like to be heard in this matter?
I make a motion to deny that portion of the application relating to the 4-foot fence in the site distance triangle and the 6-foot fence in the driveway site distance triangle, each exceeding a permitted height of 2 feet and 3,000 square feet.
Application.
Addition, you keep the pool, you lost 2 fences, it's a win.
I know.
Application number 529-25, Carlos and Kristen Page Pays. Permission to erect one-story addition, 13 by 16.5, leaving rear yard of 18 feet instead of required 25 feet, and floor area ratio of 29.16% instead of permitted 25%. Residence B District, east side of Comac Road, 387.13 feet.
Good
Some
evening
direction
again.
of Moffett Boulevard, Islip.
Good evening again. Gennaro Cozzolino for the homeowners Carlos and Kristen Pais, 47 Comac Road, Islip, also known as Section 319, Block 3, Lot 48, located in a Residence B zone. We are requesting relief from the board to build a 13 by 16.5 foot one-story rear addition. Proposed addition requires a variances for FAR, requesting 29.16%. Instead of permitted 25%, a difference of 4.16%. Variance for rear yard setback requesting 18 feet instead of permitted 25 feet, a difference of.
Kathleen, what type of precedent do we have for a rear yard of 18 instead of 25?
Not sure, would have to check with,
Not sure doesn't help you. Not sure often.
I don't really have much of anything for that. Most I could say is that it's 18 at the corner, it's 21 at the other corner because it's a bit angled, but besides that, I got nothing to really say on it.
I don't think it's good zoning to grant right out of the box 18
I understand. We would like to adjourn it then for, no, we're going to amend the, the plan. Come up. Excuse me?
Obviously, the house is not parallel to the rear property line. So,
The other corner of the addition, or?
The corner of the addition?
yeah, would you say that? One's at 25?
Not as
It's probably
proposed.
close.
I measured it at 21. At about 21.
I would think a good application would be the plan where you get that other corner to comply. And then make the argument that you're only asking for one corner to not comply. Just saying.
We'll run it by the homeowners. Yeah, I don't want to make a decision right now. $20 feet?
I would say if it was 20 feet, it'd be about a 20% relaxation, which is not beyond the pale of just sort of granting in some circumstances. It would be 20 at the closest point, probably about 23 at the other point.
Does anyone else would like to be heard in this application?
Thank you very much. Yes? Okay, thank you very much.
But here's my thing. Application number 530-25, MD Rabiul Islam and Haviza Nazri. Permission to leave gazebo having front yard of 7 feet, in-ground pool having front yard of 17.3 feet, and air conditioning unit having front yard of 16 feet instead of required 20 feet each. Shed having side and rear yard of 0.5 feet instead of required 4 feet. Patio having rear yard of 0.5 feet instead of required 4 feet. Rear yard landscaping of 9.4% instead of required 40%. 6-foot fence on property line not having required setback of 10 feet. And driveway having front yard occupancy of 44.5% instead of permitted 40%. Residence B District, northeast corner of Parr Drive and Waterview Avenue, Ronkonkoma.
Good evening, members of the board. Larry Buscemi, 15 Vineyard Way, Mount Sinai, New York, representing the homeowners. Ready? Okay. So in this application, as you heard from the call, we have quite a few structures, all of which are existing. I'll take them in sort of my order. Starting with the in-ground pool and the air conditioner. Both requires 20-foot setbacks. The pool is 17.3 and the AC unit is 16 feet. Those are toward the secondary front yard, not to the actual front yard. I feel that those are minor setback variances, and the cost to change or move those structures would be astronomical. They're not visible from the road. It would be very much a hardship to move those. As far as the driveway, we're talking about somewhat around an 8% variance from 40% to 44%. There's a picture of the driveway. It kind of blends in with the neighborhood and the street. Now, the shed, the side yard setback is illusory. The shed itself actually holds the proper setbacks. There's a roof attached to the shed that, for example, I would use to keep my firewood dry. It's like a roof over almost, and that's what's not holding the setback. The shed itself is in compliance, so it's just really just that roof over. The gazebo is 20 feet down to 7 feet, which is obviously a large variance. But again, it's the secondary front yard. There's a picture of it. It's a pretty innocuous structure. It's something you buy at, BJ's, one of those things. And then we get to the 6-foot fence, which is not in the site triangle, and runs down the street and matches actually the neighbors. If you can see the neighbor's driveway, and then the neighbor also has a fence like that. And it's vinyl, and of course it would be expensive to cut it down or move it. Which brings me to the landscaping. Yeah, I got nothing. Yeah, I got nothing. Nick, you got anything?
I guess I'm called upon. I can start with some good news for you. The fence, I don't think actually needs a variance. It should meet the exception for a corner lot, so it should be allowed on the second front yard.
Spectacular.
That's about where the good news ends. I believe it should be removed from the call, yes, but unless you think otherwise. To me, it seems that it would meet, it's a 7,789 square foot, and 10-foot setback would be a second front yard setback, so it should be fine. Sure. Yeah, I don't think it's in that.
So,
So I'm gonna make a motion that we strike the reference to the 6-foot fence on property line not having required setback of 10 feet from the yard. Second. Second, all in favor? Let's move to call.
Thank you.
Okay, front yard occupancy, it's not that big of a deal. The shed, he's right, it's the roof overs that are actually encroaching into the setback. They are considered part of the shed, so this is the setback for the shed. I don't know if I'd use, as fancy as the word is, illusory to describe it, but he is correct. The shed, in terms of the four-walled structure building, is maintaining the setback. The attached roof overs are encroaching. I don't know how you would feel about that, but it is part of the shed, so it definitely does count, even if they don't want it to. As he was saying, the rear yard landscaping is not really particularly defensible. It's especially not defensible, as you can kind of see in the street view here. Not common in our town. This is actually on a slope, so when you have all this hardscape and pavement, drainage might actually run towards the neighbor. That's a concern of ours. So we don't want to be, especially in areas like Ronkonkoma and Hauppauge, we definitely don't want people to be having all of these impermeable surfaces going all the way up to property lines. It's not good for drainage. Beyond that, really the only other thing, I guess, is the pool and the AC unit, no issue. The gazebo, you can kind of see it right here. You can clearly see it from the street. It peaks pretty well above the fence. Probably not helped by the fact that the fence kind of has a sort of a tiered system because of the slope. So it's not ideal. It's definitely close, and I don't really have much else to say about it than that.
Do we have any gazebos similarly situated?
Not that I'm aware of in the area.
If we, just to throw it out there, let's say it were 20%, would the board be more amenable to that? How about we throw, it's a lot of construction. All right.
The board has been giving people 30, yes.
Fair enough. Thank you. Have a great night.
Application number 391-25, adjourned from July 1, 2025. Chris Knowles, permission to leave first-story deck having side yard of 0.1 feet and 0.5 feet instead of required 5 feet each. Second-story deck having front yard of 12.5 feet instead of required 25 feet. Side yard of 10.4 feet instead of required 15 feet. And roofed-over second-story deck having rear yard of 22.2 feet instead of required 25 feet, all having floor area ratio of 36.8% instead of permitted 30%. Residence BAA District, east side of Seabay Walk, 446.81 feet north of Maple Court, Kismet. And I'm just passing around the amended proposal that you passed up a little while ago.
You want to make an appearance?
Sure. Yep. Jeff Leonard, 12 Lewis Street in Setauket, architect for the homeowner.
Chris Knowles, 109 St. Mark's Place, New York, New York, owner of 103 Sea Bay.
Okay. I'm sorry, say that again? So we are. What you see, yeah, let's walk through that, sure. The extensions, if you look towards the bottom of the page there, we had 2 deck extensions, which were, we talked about in the last appearance, which were right up against the lot line. And what we're proposing to do is cut those back. We would still like to provide an area for some bike parking towards the front of the property. You see I've highlighted a 6x10 bike pen, we're calling it there, to park some bikes as you come off of Sea Bay Walk, but not do that in the hatched area to the south there that was right up against the lot line. I think it was 0.1 feet in the existing survey. Similar towards the back of the property, we had another deck extension which came right up to the lot line, which we are proposing to cut back and push away from the south lot line, which would make all the decks on that side line up at 6.4 feet from that south lot line. Yeah, those decks, because they're on the lower level, actually don't appear in the actual call. No, it was more in our previous presentation.
The first story deck having a side yard of 0.1 would change, correct? 0.1 and 0.5?
My mistake. That's right. Nick is correct. The 0.1 feet, the very first thing in the call. That's the one. And 6.4 feet.
It's going to conform.
I'm sorry, say that again?
I believe you can just strike the whole thing.
Correct. Those would go to, both of those would go to 6.4 feet. That's correct. Correct. Yeah. Correct. That would remain. Also, that would remain. Yes, that would still remain as written. Instead of the required, right, that wouldn't be changed either. Correct. 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 Okay.
First, Jeff, you're sure the FAR is correct as written?
So the FAR, Nick and I have talked about this a couple of times. It comes down to how we treat if you look at the sketch I gave you, that second story deck over a first story deck, there's 2 decks there, one at 5.2 feet, one at 14.7 feet. We had originally submitted FAR calculations at about 42, considering that the way that old deck, that existing deck is built, doesn't really appear to let much water through it, so I counted it as impervious. When the original appearance was prepared, it was listed at 36%, and the math is whether or not you count that first level deck underneath the second story. If you do count it, it puts you at 42, and if you don't count it, it puts it at 36. So that's what.
So
that's where it comes
ultimately,
from.
I guess it's up to zoning whether it does or doesn't count. The first time they wrote the denial, they didn't count it. My concern was that they might, when they go to close it out, they might be changing their minds. That was a concern of mine, especially considering the architect had counted it first. It's the issue of the potential double count. So the first story deck wouldn't normally count unless it's roofed over, If the second-story deck is impervious, that counts both as a second-story deck and also a roof over for the one below it. It's kind of a rough way to look at it. It's come up many times before. If it's impervious, yes, it normally would be counted.
But it has a roof over it, so it's by nature impervious, right?
Well, in this case, it's not the rear deck, the front deck is what we're discussing. So the front
Right.
deck, the second story counts, and whether the first story deck counts depends on, again, whether or not it's pervious, impervious.
Right.
Basically, if the first story deck is a roofed over deck or not.
And you said you thought that was the case because you said it was an old style deck?
No, so the construction of it is more of a sandwich, and so it's not as pervious as a typical deck would be. You know, where you've just got one level of decking and the rain just comes right through it. It's kind of got an underside.
Is there anything
as well.
different about this deck than most decks at Fire Island? You have an expert contractor here who might be able to tell us.
Yeah.
I understand it's a deck. I've never heard of an impervious deck. Then you have a flooding situation, so how could it not be impervious?
Yeah, it's not 100%. It's
It's pervious. That's the opposite of impervious.
Yeah.
Is that a word,
I
pervious?
think it is.
Yeah, that
It's
is
hard
a
to
word.
classify,
Is
to
it?
be perfectly, yeah.
So it has to be pervious.
Yeah.
Who would build an impervious deck?
Yeah. I mean, it's not asphalt shingles or anything like that, or you know, it's wood decking.
It's wood. It's wood that contracts in the cold, and
Yeah.
so if it's cold out and it's raining, the rain's gonna go through it, right?
Yeah.
That's our expert over here.
Yeah, there he is.
Yeah.
He's an
One-
expert.
Do you want to give us some, enlighten us? Would you like to just,
He's built some decks at the beach.
Yeah. You have to give us your name.
yeah, name and
all that
address at the
stuff.
microphone. Thank you, Mr. Wood.
Sam Wood, I live at 60 Oak Street in Kismet, Fire Island. I'm a builder over there. Is that good?
Tell us about impervious versus.
Okay, so this particular deck has strips of cedar underneath it to kind of hide the beams, so it looks better from underneath, and it's decked on the top.
So where will the water go?
If it rains, it drips through there,
And then it doesn't count.
So it's pervious. It's pervious.
yes.
That's
Thank you.
good for you. Pervious is good.
Good
Yeah.
enough for me.
Okay?
Pervious
Thank you.
is bad.
That sounds good.
Sounds good.
So I think the only other thing that really stood out
So
was
then
the front yard setback, right?
Just- So the 36.8 is correct?
I believe that would be correct then, yes.
Okay.
And this is something we both looked into pretty heavily. As far as I can tell, there was a permit taken out and CO to replace a rotted upper deck. And to the best that we can tell, this is that deck, or at least before it was partially reconstructed. So I believe this deck has been CO'd in the past, the second-story deck that is asking for the setback.
Yeah, well, that's, Nick and I have both spent a lot of time since our previous hearing looking into the records of that, and I agree. We do feel that's the original deck footprint from the, I think it was 1979 CO.
I could confirm that, but it was a while ago, yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, while it's a pretty significant setback request, I believe the deck was in fact CO'd at that, in this shape and size
Yeah.
in the past. I can't think of anything else we would call an upper deck in this case other than a second-story deck, and based on the original submitted building plans, there was proposed to have a second-story deck. So I believe that is the case.
So the only issue that I wanted to just bring up with you is that bicycle platform that you're gonna put at grade in the front. I think it's now a permitted encroachment at Fire Island. You're allowed to have the platforms for your refuse enclosures, so I think it will be incorporated into that allowance.
Okay.
So the board can't amend the call of the meeting anyway, because you're including a
Yeah.
new thing. But I think that you'll be okay with it being a
Okay.
permitted encroachment at the beach.
Good, thank you.
Anything else?
No, I have nothing further.
All right, is there anyone else who'd like?
Thank you.
Thank you.
631-25, Chris Spiro Jr., permission to leave detached garage 19 by 28, having side yard of 4 feet instead of required 10 feet, and one-story addition 15.7 by 22.8 irregular, resulting in floor area ratio of 34.8% instead of permitted 25%. To leave garbage enclosure on-side property line not having a required setback of 2 feet, driveway on-side property line not having a required setback of 4 feet, front yard occupancy of 59.8% instead of permitted 40%, and second driveway having rear yard of 1 foot instead of required 4 feet. Residence B District, south side of Sherman Avenue, 393.58 feet east of Higby Lane, West Islip, which was incorrectly stated as East Islip in the call of the meeting.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the applicant, Steve Bertolino, 130 West Main Street, East Islip, New York. I believe, not counting that east versus west mistake, the call of the meeting should be accepted because you do list the county tax map number on there. So with that being said, I'd like to start off with the request on the lot coverage, or the FAR of 34.8%. Technically, the detached garage is 532 square feet. If it were 32 square feet less, it would be at 500. The setback would go down from 4. We comply from the 10 right now. We can't meet the 10 because we're 32 square feet over. In addition, if that garage were 32 square feet less, the FAR would only be 28.4%, which would be within what this board generally grants below the 30%. So the question really becomes, at least with respect to the garage, had this garage been built 32 square feet smaller, we wouldn't be in the FAR position or the setback position, and we would hope that the board would see fit to grant this, what I'm going to say, a small excess on the garage side, as opposed to having to lob off 32 square feet and reconstruct the entire garage. With that being said, we move over to what I think the next big thing would be the driveway in the front yard. So the front yard request total is 54.9%. It's important to note that the front yard was designed to be environmentally, let's say, conscious, and the driveway does not really connect. There are 2 driveways, if you will, one on the left and one on the right. It's connected in the middle. I just handed up a photograph by gravel. In front of that gravel is more gravel, and for some reason, the gravel that's in the middle of the 2 driveways and also in the middle of between the road and the house is bordered by brick pavers. I suspect that is why it was called out as being an additional driveway, but technically it is pervious. It does match, it's a different color, but it matches the gravel that's just in front of it. And I guess it begs the question as what is landscaping? Obviously, in some parts of the country, you're not allowed to have grass that needs water, that requires water. No, well, this part of the country, there's no requirement, but but I'm just pointing out what it comes down to is, you know, one person's grass is another person's gravel. In both situations, they are both pervious. In one requires water, one does not. In and of itself, if you were to subtract that, I'm going to call second area of gravel between the 2 brick borders, the FAR would go down, I shouldn't say FAR, the front property coverage would go down to 40.3%. So we have an additional 14.6%, which is that second area of gravel. If that gravel were to be removed, generally looks like bluestone, if you will, if that were to be removed, the applicant could put dirt, they could put grass, which would then require water. They could even plant cacti if they chose to do so. Or we could leave the existing gravel, which is technically not a driveway, but it's being called out as a driveway. Moving last, behind the house in the back, we have another driveway that goes to a dead-end street. So Bernard backs up. It's not a cul-de-sac, but in the back of this property, there is another road, and we are 1 foot off the lot line there. It doesn't really affect anybody. There's no through traffic going through. There is a fence in the backyard. That doesn't really meet up with anything. There are a couple of other items on the call of the meeting. One is the garbage enclosure. You know, it's just a small enclosure to hide the garbage cans on the side of the house. I mean, we'd like to keep it, but if the board saw fit that it needed to go, it would certainly be something we would have to do. That being said, if the board has any questions, I think that we are keeping in nature and character of the area, although I didn't see many other properties with a horseshoe driveway. Again, if we were not to count that gravel, we would be at 40.3%, which generally the board grants 40%. And certainly removing the gravel and putting down dirt or grass, is viable. It is something we could do. So could the applicant achieve this in some other way? Sure. But do we want to stand and argue whether or not it should be called out in the first place? That's what I'm asking the board to consider. Again, board has any questions, I'm here. I didn't find any precedent. I don't know that Nick did either. Well, our hope, Mr. Wexler, is that, the board would consider granting it, of course. That's why we're here making the application, so that we wouldn't have to.
Nothing that would help him in terms of precedent. I would say that I would agree with what he said about the it being 32 square feet larger than what would otherwise be a conforming garage. Now, it's unfortunate they built this garage, they made it a bit too big. That's a self-inflicted hardship, a pretty serious one in this case, because
I think it was built without a permit.
Yeah, I think it was built without a
And
permit.
that was part of the problem.
That's the self-inflicted hardship. Yeah. It's a rough situation to be in. It is self-inflicted, but he is correct at least in the sense that both the FAR issue and the setback issue would effectively disappear if it were 33 square feet smaller. This is the cliff that kind of just exists in the code. You fall on the wrong side of 500 feet and everything goes really bad for you.
Yeah, and the question is, do we get the guillotine because we're just on the wrong side of that cliff? I mean, I've been before this board with much larger applications for garages and sheds, and I fully understand the board's concerns with granting precedent, but certainly, the board, as Mr. Wexler pointed out, can consider, even though all the other factors are in there, does it really change the nature and character of the area if we were 32 square feet smaller? Yeah, and
I don't like it.
I understand your gravel in Arizona is grass. It doesn't, this is ice. So I think you're gonna have to get that down. What do we do for the front yard occupancy?
Just really quick, speaking on the garage before moving on, it is a difficult situation. It's a pretty big hardship for them to redo it, but I would also say if they came to us proposing this, we would have told them to make it less than 500 square feet. So it's hard to give them the benefit of not getting a permit in this case. As far as the front yard occupancy, that's also a relatively interesting argument, and I'm not being sarcastic. Gravel does not count, so it kind of depends what you're looking at front yard occupancy as regulating, whether it's trying to regulate impervious surfaces or just where you can park a vehicle. It's kind of doing both. So the gravel driveway is definitely helping them get more spaces to park vehicles. It is, however, a fairly pervious surface, so it's not the same as just an asphalt driveway. It is a weird middle ground. In theory, somebody could be parking on a dirt area that wouldn't count for front yard occupancy. It's kind of a gray area. That would be the other thought, is it just trying to say we don't want this because we want people to have front lawns?
Yeah, I mean, it's a suburb.
Because, we used to have rear yard occupancy. We changed that out for landscaping because we felt, well, landscaping is kind of what we wanted. That's what we were trying to actually encourage. So that's why we changed it for the rear yard. We didn't go that way for the front yard, but in a certain sense, yes, we do want people to have front lawns and islip. Certainly would seem that way, yes.
Well, I think that's been there for quite some time. It's not recent. I don't have an exact date, but the survey's incorrect, Mr. Italiata. I can tell you, that's why I handed up the photograph. Because I saw the survey and I went on Google Earth. I could not discern what it was, but you can clearly see it, you know, in that photograph that we were able to get.
It doesn't look like asphalt.
What's that?
It doesn't look like asphalt.
No,
in the picture,
it's not. And listen, this surveyor, I saw a mistake this morning on a different parcel, different application somewhere else. They make mistakes like we all do. I do know that this board's been bargaining all night long, and I would like to step into that arena and say, hey, listen, we pull up the gravel and we kind of get rid of that issue that is a gray area and give us the 33 feet on the garage and save the applicant from having the garage literally, you know, chainsawed off just a little bit. There's the call of the meeting, it's, I think, 0.1 or 1 foot off the rear yard requiring 4 feet. It's just another driveway, which I know this board often grants relaxations for the driveway setback.
Is there a gate back there?
No, it doesn't. I mentioned that earlier. There is no through access. There's just a driveway back there.
So what's the point?
Yeah. What I was told was that at some point, I think maybe before the garage was built, they used to, you know, pull their cars all the way in and wash the cars back there, and, you know, now they just leave it as asphalt. I mean, it's not being accessed by Bernard. You know, I will set forth that to the board. But, you know, whether or not it could be cut back 3 feet on the asphalt, I'm sure that's something that could be done too if need be. No, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
In theory, if that's where they take the FAR from. In theory.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thank you for consideration. Have a good evening.
Application number 532-25, 1471 Rosser LLC. Permission to leave second-story addition 37.8 by 40.9 irregular, having side yard of 11.9 feet and roofed-over porch having side yard of 6.9 feet instead of required 14 feet each, resulting in floor area ratio of 32% instead of permitted 25%. Pool patio having side yard of 5 feet instead of required 6 feet, and 4-foot fence and driveway side distance triangle exceeding permitted height of 3 feet. Residence A District, east side of Yuma Lane, 225 feet north of Wyandotte Lane, East Islip.
How you doing? Michael Arado, Captain Permit, 535 Broad Hollow Road, Melville, New York. I'm here representing the owner, Mohammed Sher. So we're here today seeking multiple reliefs to maintain existing structures that are on this property. Just so you know, this owner bought this property on June 6, 2024. He had to get some squatters out of it, and in the meantime, he had to legalize a pool, and that's what triggered all this. So we're asking relief to maintain a second-story addition with side yard setback of 11.9 and a roofed-over porch with a setback of 16.9 feet instead of the required 14 feet. This addition, along with the detached garage, is what brings this house over the allowable 25% FAR, which is now at 32%. So while I know the board typically doesn't allow 32% FAR, we would like to see if the board would approve this relief, since the roofed-over portion, which is approximately 395 square feet of this house, is not enclosed, it's not habitable space, and the owner has no intentions of enclosing it or making it habitable space in the future. To take this down would be a major financial undertaking and would cosmetically hurt the look of the house as well. We don't feel that this addition and the roofed over are creating a negative impact on the property or any of the surrounding properties. The roofed over has a gutter system, so no water is going towards the neighbor's property. The pool patio has a 5-foot setback where 6 feet is required. We don't feel that this is an aggressive relief and hope the board feels the same way. The last relief we're seeking is to maintain these 4-foot PVC fences that exceed the 3-foot height requirement, as well as the driveway site triangle. So the fence that's closest to the driveway, 47 Yuma, that's actually not on, that's not his fence. It's not on his property. I checked, there's no precedent. Yeah. Well, what if, so if you would grant the side yard setbacks, what if I cut back the garage, since the garage is over 500 square feet, and I cut that down to like, well, I gotta just talk about the fences real quick. Yeah, so, I don't know if you have the pictures that I sent over. So on the fence that's by 47 Yuma, that's not his. It's like 0.9 feet, almost a foot off the property line, so that's his neighbor's fence. And then the 47 Yuma, that's the driveway, the picket fence. I don't know what picture you have in front of you. Yeah, you have the picture. I'll show you the. So there's two types of PVC fencing. One's like a picket fence, like see-through, and then the other one is like just has like two PVC horizontal pieces that run across it. Neither one of those fences are his. I just want to let the board know that.
As far as the one in the north, I would agree. It's listed as 0.9 feet north of the property line, so it looks like it's on his neighbor's property. It is a side obstruction, but once again, it's not really his responsibility. It's not on his property. The one on the south side, as far as I can tell, that technically, is that on his property? It's pretty much on the property line.
It's right there. He didn't install those, but just so this doesn't, if this does come up for now the neighbors, I mean, if you could see from the pictures that these fences do not cause any sort of hindrance on, seeing pedestrians or vehicles as they come up and down that street. The one by 49 Yuma is clearly fully see-through type fence.
The one on the south side, if that's the one being referenced, to me, it's very visible through. I don't know which one zoning was calling out, but it's the only one that would be relevant in my opinion anyway, so. The one fence that could be possibly called out, I think, is fairly transparent. You can see through the majority of it. The other one, not so much, but it's not on their property. I'll be honest, I don't know how to, do that in terms of the call to meeting, but.
I sent some pictures from different angles of the street.
I would say the only one that could be relevant, in my opinion, is Okay. I'm not 100% sure which one they were calling out, but like I said, the other one is not on their property, so it's not really at issue in the sense of this application. I believe so. As I was saying, the one that I think would be an obstruction does not appear to be on their property. It's listed by the surveyor as being 0.9 feet to the north. I don't have anything to help them with that. Neither that nor the side yard of 6.9. It's second fence. The second fence is on their property, it looks like. It's confusing.
To cut back on the FARs to reduce the size of the garage. Total, it's 790.
The garage is counting towards their FAR, that would be correct.
Because it's over 500.
It is counting towards their FAR.
So if you bring it to 499,
We can kill like 317 square feet. Yeah, I'm gonna work on that number. So if you give us like what 30 is the max, we'll work with that to kill the. But you're saying you're not. Sorry. That's what I was gonna. Well, so we come in front of the board for a variance to try to get relief, but, so how do we ever set a price, like, who's the first person ever
So,
set?
nobody has 6.9. 2 people have gotten as close as 8.3. That's the current closest that anybody has gotten in terms of either an addition or a roof over. One of those is, I think, the adjacent neighbor at 43 Yuma got 8.3. Besides that, 6.9 is not supported any better than that. That's all I'll say. Probably not the nature character. I would not use those terms for it, no. Those are in zoning.
No.
Yeah. The garage is only at issue in that it contributes to the FAR.
Okay, no, I just threw it out there because if you were going to allow the roof over, I would say I'd kill some of that garage to make the FAR come down. Yeah, that side.
Correct. Yeah, that's about correct. I got 1.3. It's not quite the full 2%. It's very smart.
Name is Dave Squilanti, owner of 49 Hume Lane. Directly south. I'm sorry? I can tell you about the fences. I can tell you a lot of things about this house. It's been a problem since 2004 when all of this work was done. Not looking to hold up or penalize the current owner, but as the gentleman before me said, there's been squatters, there's been, I'm sure, illegal. I'm not sure if they have the proper permit for rentals. The neighbors have all asked that the town ensure that the proper permit, if they are going to rent it out, that they have the proper permits, because it's been one nightmare after another. Nothing for me. What would you like to know about the fence? The post and rail fence? That's mine, yep. Yep. And the reason we put it up is we had to have some kind of barrier because we had all of these, I keep saying the word, undesirables in and out of that house. And we thought that was, you know, we didn't want to put a solid fence up, so we had to have some kind of line marking our property. That fence basically follows the property line in the rear of the house. Okay.
Well, again, it's not in any site. I think you're okay. Just to confirm, you said the side yard is 8%? I mean, it's 10 feet, not 8? Okay. Well, no removement. They're not his fences. You're going to remove it. I got you. Thank you.
Granted 30%, Nick?
Are you serious? Application number 533-25, Islip Yards LLC. Permission to leave lighting fixtures having height of 30 feet instead of permitted 20 feet. Industrial 2 District, west side of Sweeneydale Avenue, 1,140.51 feet west of Fifth Avenue, Bay Shore.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is J.R. DeCiccio with the law firm of Greenberg Traurig, 900 Stewart Avenue, Garden City, New York, 11530. I'm appearing tonight on behalf of the applicant, Islip Yards, LLC, in connection with its application for an area variance to leave lighting fixtures having a height of 30 feet instead of the permitted 20 feet. It will have zero impact, Mr. Wexler. The surrounding neighborhood to the east is characterized by heavy industrial uses. The residential neighborhood to the west, by my calculations, the closest light pole is about 250 feet from the western property line. There's also a 83-foot buffer on the western property line. The buffer at its highest point is anywhere, or the berm at its highest point is anywhere from 15 to 20 feet high with mature trees on top of that. So it will not be visible from the residential neighborhood to the east. I have submitted pictures of the buffer for the board's viewing pleasure. Well, there was some significant security breaches at the property. People were breaking in, they were siphoning fuel, they were stealing car batteries from the overnight vehicles that were stored overnight, or the commercial vehicles that were stored overnight. So the higher light poles provide for, greater coverage. It did stop it, yes. They've been there for about 5 years now.
No, it's, you can see in the picture here, you're talking 15 to 20 foot berm with trees on top of it. So these light poles don't seem to peek over. Would you agree with that? That would be the only concern, is whether or not the residents would be able to see them from the other side of the buffer.
Yeah, again, based on the pictures I've submitted, I don't believe that they will.
That would be the only concern planning would have had, so.
All light will be contained on the site, and the poles will be dark sky compliant.
Didn't you say they've been operating these lights for 5 years?
About 5 years, yes.
So we're not, when we say.
I'm not aware of any complaints.
They have not seen it.
Does anyone else like to be heard in this application?
Thank you. Have a very good evening.
Application number 534-25, Thomas and Kimberly O'Malley. Permission to renew permit to maintain corral in front yard when permitted only behind the rear line of the dwelling pursuant to Town Code Section 12-27A4 and 12-28. Residence AA District, south side of Allwood Avenue, 136.57 feet east of Deer Path Road, Central Islip.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Jenna Hernandez from Dynamic Expediting with offices at 231 Islip Avenue. We are here tonight to renew the special permit previously granted in 2023. At that time, there was a condition placed requesting evergreens be planted. We do have photographs depicting the plantings for your review. That's it. Yes.
Just reiterate, the condition was granted for a period of 2 years, conditioned upon the applicant installing evergreen plantings to screen the corral from the public. So it's a matter of whether they address that.
Good evening, Susan Pellegrino, 85 Deer Path Road. My understanding that the screening was supposed to be the perimeter of the corral, and these greens, which will, I'm sure, grow, were just planted recently, so they're going to take a while to provide any screening. But it just seems like it's along the Allwood. It's not along the, it's kind of like a pentagon-shaped corral. They were just planted. Probably within the last 2 weeks. I mean, if the pictures show that, yeah.
Again, it was to screen from public view, so that was the intent was that it wouldn't be visible from the street, is my assumption.
I would say that these plantings do not comply with the spirit of what we requested. This is just putting evergreens in the ground. It's just the cheapest ones they could find on sale. I don't think I had 2 weeks ago. Yeah, I have a very strong opinion about how local that's done.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Sorry. So she lives out of state, the property owner lives out of state. She hired someone to do the plantings. Okay. No. No. The property owner is open to planting more evergreens and planting.
Okay, just that we're clarifying, it's around the perimeter of the corral. It's not just along the front. It's, because it's a very awkward, because it is an awkward piece of property, it's an awkward kind of shaped corral. So we're talking about the whole perimeter of the corral.
The condition
So-
was to screen it from the general public, whatever would
Right, so,
accomplish
okay.
that.
That's, thank you, that's what.
I lease the property. I'm James Gallagher. I live at 215 Allwood Avenue. I planted those trees. Initially, after 2 years ago, the neighbors came to me and asked me not to plant no trees because everybody enjoys in the neighborhood watching the horses train and practice and exercise. And that's originally how I hesitated to plant them in the first place. Yes. Right. So I did plant them only 2 weeks ago. They're green giants. They're going to grow fast, and they're going to spread wide. I planted them 10 feet apart. My neighbor has the same exact trees, and I went and I looked how far his trees are. And in a matter of a few years, these things, they're 12 feet tall.
Imagine how great they'd be if you did it on time. Not you, but the owner.
No, you're right. It was my responsibility. I accepted the responsibility. Yes, I was here then, yes.
I mean, just think, if you had done it when you were supposed to, they would be alleged, or almost ruined. I think they take a little.
4 years, 3, 4 years, they're going to fill out. They're arborvitaes brand called Green Giant. They are rapidly growing trees. Yes, but I'm also admitting, I'll plant more. You just want me to plant more? No, there were none there. Yeah. Right.
And you or someone else said that you would.
3 feet. No, these things, they're rapid growing. Okay.
I do know the property owner is willing to plant more mature evergreens, if that would help. Yeah. Okay. Mhm. Okay. And the evergreens have to be 6 feet, I think I heard? Okay.
6 feet, but 6 feet not including the roof wall.
Okay.
So the 6 foot ones they sell at the store are actually going to be 14.
So 6 feet from the dirt once they're planted. Okay. 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 October 28th. Okay. Thank you. Have a good night.
Application number 535-25, Palm Professional LLC. Permission to erect 2 buildings, Building A, Professional and Medical Office Building, and Building B, Child Daycare Center, on lot having area of 74,465 square feet instead of maximum permitted 40,000 square feet pursuant to Islip Town Code Section 68-494E. General Service Transitional District, northeast corner of Islip Avenue and Pear Street, Central Islip.
Good evening, Charles W. Southern Jr., architect, 435 Bay Home Road, Southold, New York. Good evening. Little history on this property. You've said that the reason we're here for a variance is because of the fact of the size of the lot being 74,000 square feet. The maximum in a GST, which is the zoning for it, is 40,000. Little history. This property has been this size for a long time. In 1989 is when the town instituted the General Service T. This property was in existence as this piece back then. 1991, this property was rezoned to GST. Now, at the time that this property rezoned to GST, I couldn't find any restriction on the size of the lot being allowed for it. I could only find that in 2010, there was a change so that the maximum size for this lot could be only 40,000 square feet. We're asking to retain this as one single lot and permit it to be developed as such. I wasn't prepared for that. I'm the architect. I designed it. I wasn't prepared for that question because this is basically just, as far as I'm concerned, the fact of the size of the site. I wasn't concerned. We have a full plan for, I believe that you have it in front of you, a full developed plan that's already been submitted for the development of 2 buildings. It's up in the top right corner. If you bring it to me, I can pick it out right away.
Building A is 12,144.
Oh, there it is.
Building B is 3,700 and something. I don't remember the top of my head. 36.
It's currently used as a landscape nursery. No, that's permitted in a General Service T. Yes. I don't know. We've had responses from my submission of drawings. No. We're not asking for anything from the planning board. Planning has reviewed this project.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
has,
engineering,
you're
it's been
correct.
in site plan review.
Planning has the elevations as the renderings for the buildings proposed.
That much is correct, yes, I mentioned. So, trying to get through it really quick. He's right, this was rezoned by the town board in 1991, GST, and we later added a maximum lot area. The intent of both the maximum lot area and GST is, because having a maximum lot area is a very unusual thing in our code. The reasoning for it is we don't want people to be able to create larger buildings on here, because the point is that it's a transitionary district from commercial to residential. We don't want larger office buildings here. It doesn't fit well into the character of the nearby residential. That was the intent. The concern that we may have with a proposal like this is actually sort of in there in Building A. They're proposing it a little over 12,000 square feet. That's notable because they wouldn't actually be able to get a building that size without needing an FAR variance if this was the maximum permitted 40,000. So the only reason they can get a building this big is because this is an oversized lot. That causes a bit of complication for us because it seems to be going counter to the intent of GST at that point, if they are proposing a building that big, which they don't need a variance for so long as it's this big, but they would need it if they subdivided. They could also, as I was just saying, in theory, subdivide this property. If they subdivided it evenly, they would have two lots of about 37,500, which are both almost the maximum permitted size in and of themselves. So this is about close to double what we would maximally permit. Really, the bigger issue here is, well, it's twofold, actually. The size of the building proposed doesn't really seem to meet the spirit and intent of the zoning designation, and also there's several issues that planning has with the current site layout and design. Now, that's not really before you as the zoning board, but there's some concerns that we might be hearing this a bit early in sense of there's probably going to be more substantial changes down the line, and it's even possible they may have to come back to the zoning board at some point in the future. We're not sure yet. I understand engineering actually told you that you should be coming here. As, you were given the denial by engineering, so that's a bit of a difficult position for you to be in, I'm sure. Oh, and there's one other thing. It's, as currently the site plan design, actually, I don't even think it could be approved as it currently is, because in GST, they don't allow parking in front yards, and that's currently proposed. So almost certainly, there'll have to be a redesign of this.
The actual description of the parking is as much as possible in the rear yards and side yards.
That's correct.
We have the parking in the rear yard. None of it is in the front yard.
So I know which part you're referencing. You're completely correct about that. It says to the greatest extent possible, you should place it in the rear yard. Right above that, what happens, there's a section right above that in code that says only landscaping and driveways, anything that's not a landscaping or driveway is prohibited in the front yard. I could try to bring up the section of code actually to show you. So I can bring it up here if you could even read that. It's part A here. All yard area, Yanya. This last line here. Use of the front yard for purposes other than a driveway and landscaping is prohibited. So it's not even just that parking is supposed to be located in the back to the greatest extent possible. Currently, there's parking in what is considered a front yard, which is just expressly prohibited.
What's the front yard setback?
The front yard setback, I'm sorry.
How much is this front yard setback? What's the front yard setback, 30 feet?
I don't have that, well. Front yard setback in GST is 25 feet unless the neighboring property would otherwise be further away, in which case you're supposed to match them.
I'm sorry, I was distracted. Somebody left the phone here.
Good evening, Mr. Marshall and members of the board. My name is Lydia Conforti. I live on 43 Pear Street, which is right next to the property. And it surrounds my property, as you can see, on one side and through the whole back. I was just here to actually know what's going on because it's going to be around my property. And I understand, but I was curious. Reason being is that the previous owner, when they opened up the nursery, I was there already. And excuse my expression, but I have been for more than 20 years in total hell because bulldozers, loading trucks, all type of construction equipment next to my house. The noise, the smell, and the view has been horrendous up to now. Because what he did, he abandoned, that's why I'm here. I just wanted to know. Because I find out when you send the letter about the meeting. And I hope it improves. That's all I want. You know what I mean? So that I can open the windows in my living room and see a different view. And not to have that. It has been horrible. It has been horrible. I've been having the beep, beep, beep of the machines all day for 20 years. I haven't been enjoying my backyard for nothing. And I've been there since 1982, when there was nothing in there but my house. I just want you to consider what I've been through all these years. Thank you.
No, he's the owner. I'd like to ask you, before you make a motion, question for you. We can, okay, there's no way we can design a site until we know whether we're going to have to design it as one site or two. We either have a chance of, well, that's where they told us to go.
I understand that. Well, that will be, planning will handle that. But I'm going to make a motion to deny the application without prejudice and to give you your filing fee back so that when it's the right time for you to come here, you have that, you can just refile. Because this is not the right time to come here.
They've had this site for over a year. I mean, for them not to look at it and send us here before they even looked at it, and they've made some comments based on the site. We did this as a preliminary.
Let's just say that they were wrong, hypothetically. That doesn't give us the right to make a decision that's not fully informed.
But the thing is that you're only deciding whether the site's going to be 74,000 square feet or it's going to be two sites. That's all you.
We can't make that decision until we know what's going to be there. Once you file an application, you have, it's.
We've already filed the application, and we've already told them what's going to be there.
You've committed to it being designed as one lot, one site. You have to let planning have their bite, and then you come here for final approval.
But they've already had it. I mean, we're going to get penalized because planning hasn't done, well, we are, because we're losing time. I understand. I understand. Thank you.
There's a chance that you'll be back here anyway, so we're saving you time and we're saving you 60 days waiting for a decision, and so you can continue your review.
They've had, okay, thank you.